What it do, baby?
Yeah, yo, what do you know? Welcome to the Bit Cipher. It's your boy D Brown. I got Chad with me. Gonna switch it up a little bit today. None of the fun and games, the jokes. We're gonna talk about 2020. How did it make us feel? I would, man, see, come on. Yeah.
Personally, 2020 was real revealing for me. Coming from where I come from, it was crazy just to see the things that happened, to see how people reacted, to everything from the election to COVID to quarantining to the social issues. It was just crazy, what happened. But for me, like I said, I think it was more revealing. If I had to pick a word for it, it was more revealing than anything.
Yeah, we were going through uncharted territory, so that was the biggest thing for me is like you said, because none of us have experienced anything like that before, and I say that as in all of those things, not just any one specific thing.
Right.
We've never experienced a presidential race quite like that. We've never witnessed, we've never lived through a pandemic. Have there been pandemics? Sure, but none of them hit quite like this. So at least in our lifetime, I remember the West Nile, but it wasn't this.
No, it doesn't even touch this.
It's not even close. So having to make huge adjustments to your life. I've never had anything that's made me have to pivot as much as things that have happened in 2020. You know what I mean?
No, absolutely.
I have to change how I go about my life in general. Not to mention, how it affects your job, and your finances. It was a year of change, lots of change. And
I'm sorry.
And that's kind of, for me, it made me feel revealing's a good word. I like that word. I like revealing. For me, I think it was humbling. For me, I think it was a time of one of the many times in my life where I realized how small I am in the grand scheme of things, and how many things are outside of my control. And me trying to keep a hold of the things that I can control. There's the challenge of 2020.
Right.
Circle of control is like this big, and
man. For real,
there's everything else, right? So
no question.
How much can you control? Not very much.
So. Right. No, I hear you. So I guess one of the biggest changes, we'll say, the quarantine. We've never had to quarantine.
Yeah.
For me, the work, obviously everybody went to work home, but I came from working from home when I worked at PNC. So that part wasn't that bad. And for me, I'm an IT guy. I'm comfortable being at home behind a computer, just in my own space. I was raised that way. It's kind of crazy because I was growing up. It was just me. My brother was older. He was 8 years older. So it was just me. And I've always liked, computers, video games. So I was just chilling.
Yeah.
So it didn't really, affect me, and even outside of that, I'm not the most going out person either. So it didn't.
See, there you go. There's the thing. If you're watching, me and Brown are homebodies. So that's the thing that didn't really hit me as hard as I thought it would. But I think the thing that made it a little different was that, sure, we don't go out a lot, but not being able to when I want to. That's therein lies the difference, because even though I don't step out a lot, I've the days where I'd go to the clubs and bar hop, that stuff is, years ago, before I was a father. So now, if I did want to step out and do something fun, not being able to, that was tough. that was tough. That was that was the part of, when we say quarantine, that's what it is. Like, you can't go out,
right? Right.
unless you walking around your neighborhood, you can't do anything. And and even for folks that are homebodies like us, that's an adjustment, man. Like, you have to get used to entertaining yourself at home and finding things to do. And especially for us, you and I who are fathers, now we got kids who can't go out. So now we got to entertain them, so that's a huge pivot in itself too. Like, my son is used to getting up, going to school. Now he's looking at his classmates on the computer. That aspect of quarantine was the bigger adjustment for me. I can handle being at home, but my 8-year-old son is like, get me out of here.
No, absolutely. Tough. It was big for me. My daughter was 4, then turned 5, but yeah, same thing. I would say, yes, that was the biggest adjustment. Everything else I was cool with, because I didn't do much anyway, but that schooling, it was different for me. It was obviously it was needed during that time for me. But having to get her in class every day, right? That was tricky. Like, because I forget everything. I had to say, I had 10 alarms on my phone, and then the internet will cut up, and then the teacher's internet will cut up. It was that was the most challenging part was with the kids. For me, like I said, that it didn't change a lot, but I do think that for a lot of people, it was the fact that it wasn't accessible as it once was. And because you'd be like, okay, well, I can't go. Well, you didn't do that before. Oh, my bad.
Right.
Like, you didn't do that before. But it's just the fact that I if I wanted to, there's a limitation. There's a limitation on it now. It's not as easy. I can't just be like, well, I guess you could, but then you just run that risk. But I think that was huge for a lot of people. It was the fact that this is just what I want to do, even though I'm not huge on doing this. I didn't do this a lot before. The fact that I want to do it and there's a limitation on it.
Yeah. That makes you fight against it at that point. Right. Now you can't control me. I can get out if I want to get out, So I think that actually one of the many reasons that kind of fueled the protests of last year. You know what I mean? I think a lot of the, at least the emotion and passion behind it was in large part due to the fact that people just couldn't express themselves, right? You couldn't get out and do the thing that you normally do. You normally, go and, you go bowling, or you go, shoot some baskets or you go work out, and you couldn't do those things. So it was like, okay, I need a reason to get out and let whatever this is out.
Yeah, no, that was in there. That was in there. No question. You can't tell me that it was just, I've been cooped up. Let me go join the movement. Exactly. Whatever, that was definitely a part of it. Absolutely.
No question.
100%, and then, to piggyback, I guess, on quarantining, COVID, obviously me and COVID, because me being immunocompromised, I took it probably the most serious out of a lot of people, and I still do, but that just comes with my history, being immunocompromised. Like, it's just something I don't want to catch. But for me, it was always, whatever you want to do it. Right. Do it as long as it doesn't affect me. I don't really care. I'm not one of those people that's like, oh my God, you need to be, no. Do whatever you want. Right. Just don't bring it over here. Yeah, right. You're not coming in here. Do it
in your own bubble.
Right. You're not coming over here. Well, let's go do something. No, I'm not going to. Well, why? Well, you know why.
You know why.
You know why I'm not going anywhere. And you knew that before you called me.
Exactly.
You just think one day I'm just gonna be like, hey, yeah, let's just go. Right. It's just, it's just not gonna happen.
For like you and I, that was a good excuse to not do anything. But you, it's funny when you say that, because you were I remember us having this conversation right around the time that things were getting quarantined and people were, the news was spreading about how, coronavirus was spreading, COVID-19 cases were going up. And I remember you and I and Rail having a conversation
I remember
over
that
the box. And I was like, man, y'all tripping, so much for that. And I think the biggest reason why I said that was because I was frustrated with everyone panicking. I always get frustrated when people hear the sign of danger and immediately panic. I think that's partly because that's my personality, but also because of my faith background, right? I'm like, look, we're here. We've seen bad stuff happen. We've gotten through it, and I trust that we'll get through this. I'm not about to, change my life.
Man, I remember that conversation.
Yep, you remember that conversation? I remember saying that too. I'm like, look, man, I'm not about to, I'm not about to be stuck in my house.
I remember it. Absolutely.
And that was my, rebel against whatever type of mentality, because I always feel like we're gonna be all right. I'm an optimist. Things are gonna be cool. We'll figure it out. Obviously, at the time, had no idea how big it was and how dangerous it was and how lethal it was. I just, I always try to tell folks to stay on the bright side. We'll kind of figure it out, but obviously it's devastating to a lot of people, and it hit people in a way that I never would have imagined. So it was eye-opening, like you said, revealing. It was revealing.
Man, it was crazy. I mean, obviously when we had that conversation, we'll say that was like February, March.
Yep.
I knew then, and I only knew because I stayed in the news at that point in time. I'm like, hold up, y'all, hold up. Stuff is closing. Like, we had that bachelor party that got shut down. It didn't get shut down, but right around that bachelor party, I was like, hell no. I mean, stuff was shutting down and I was just watching these numbers going up and I'm like, all right, this is something a little bit different.
Yeah.
And on top of being immunocompromised, it was like, you know what? Yeah. And then it got worse than I thought it was going to. Like, I knew it was going to be rough.
Yeah.
But then I'm like, yo, and then it started touching, once it starts touching people.
Yeah.
It hit, close to home. People, I don't know anybody that died. I've heard of people that died, but I'm just saying it hit people. Yeah. It just hit people all of a sudden, going to the hospital. And that, for me, I mean, I've always just been caring, just like, look, I don't want anything to happen to you, regardless of how secluded I am, how much of a homebody I am. I don't want anything to happen to you. That was one of my biggest things of why I didn't go anywhere either. Like, I felt like if I caught it, I would be okay.
Yeah.
Right. Young, healthy. But again, it was about me spreading it.
Yeah.
Right. That's all it was about for the most part. Now, don't get me wrong. I don't want to catch it. Didn't want to catch it. But a lot of it was, I don't want this thing to pop off to somebody who's older or whatever, or even immunocompromised or anything, something like that. And something happened. I'm like, no. I can't live like that because you already know, you and I are similar. That thing would have been on my brain, my conscience for the remainder. I'm talking about for the rest of my life. I'd have been like, it would have changed me.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's crazy because when you say it was hitting close to home, I was, obviously I work in the healthcare system. So when it hit, shortly after, my team was asked to work, in a vaccine clinic.
Yeah.
So for me, I was trying to figure out how serious I need to take this. Like, do I need to be at the point where like I'm walking around with gloves on? Do I need to, because I was about to get put on the front lines and I didn't want to compromise the people that were closest to me. I got a wife who's a labor and delivery nurse. So I'm like, I can't just be walking around after being at a vaccine clinic all day, like ain't nothing happening.
Right.
So it was tough. The kind of the paradox, I shouldn't say the paradox, kind of the dilemma that I was in was trying to figure out how I should view it and react to it compared to how people saw me react to it.
Sure.
Like, because I know that I'm kind of the barometer for my family and my friends. Like, if Chad is tripping, then I need to be tripping, So with that in mind, I'm always like, man, I can't freak out. I can't, I can't be walking around here, gloves and hazmat suit on all the time. I gotta at least, appear to be calm, even if in my head I'm a little uneasy.
Yeah, I remember I watched your progression from that conversation that we had throughout that year. It changed.
Yeah.
It did change heavy, because after that conversation, I was like, I'm not fucking with him.
Right.
No, not that serious, but it was kind of that vibe. I was like, nah, but it was just that little vibe. But then obviously not that serious. But then I witnessed it. I was like, okay, now you was a little bit more on board. Yeah. And obviously in the healthcare, you hopped on.
Absolutely.
Like, absolutely. And it happened to a few people, actually. It was like, oh,
it does. The more, and the thing about it is I got more educated, right? I couldn't, if I would have stayed at my current, know-how of what was going on, then I would have stayed in the same mindset, But I started doing my own research. I started looking up these numbers. I started figuring out, how this stuff spreads. And, then it was like, okay, this is a little different. This is a little different.
This is different.
You need to approach this a little differently. I need to have a different mentality about this than I've had. But I still carry that, man. That's the tough thing, because I still carry the mindset of don't freak out. You know what I mean? Like I'm still that person. I haven't changed that. Obviously, you just have to be careful. Don't be.
That's what to me. That's what it boiled down to.
Yeah.
Just be careful.
Don't be ignorant.
Just just be careful. For me, again, like the masks and stuff, like that stuff didn't bother me. That was only because I knew what they do. I couldn't, man, one of the worst things about 2020 was having the discussion about these masks.
Oh.
All of a sudden, people forgot what the mask is for. Right.
Or they never cared.
Or it's either you really didn't care or you didn't forget. You just want to be like, well, I don't. What do you mean?
Yeah.
What are you talking about? Exactly. Well, why do I have to wear it? Well, why do you think you have to wear it? It's not for your looks.
It has nothing to do with fashion.
It's just so you don't, so you don't spread this thing. Why is that so hard?
Yes.
I could talk all day about that.
It's short and it's inconvenient. It was inconvenient.
Absolutely.
You don't want to have to wear it.
Yeah.
My face would get hot. I was in the vaccine clinic all day.
Yeah.
So I couldn't take that thing off. So I was sitting there for 8 hours checking people in to get vaccines who
I remember the pictures you sent out.
Whew. Yeah. I'm checking people in that may or may not have a virus. And I couldn't take that thing off my face. And I still had a glass barrier between me and people.
Yeah.
But I still, that it's so inconvenient. It's so uncomfortable. It's annoying, but
it's all those things.
I'm keeping all of that on my face.
Right. It's all those things. We all had to experience the same thing. It's not like people were just experiencing something different.
Yep.
We never wore masks like that. I remember the first time I put that thing, I was like,
yeah,
I gotta wear this thing like this.
Yep, like this.
That answer was yes.
Yeah, you got to cover all of this.
Man, that was
all day
crazy.
Long.
Man, it was crazy. It was
adjustment, man.
It was an adjustment. I think for the most part, a lot of people adjusted. I think a lot of people, or at least around here, adjusted to it better than I thought. How about that? It was better than I thought. At first, it was all the pushback.
Yeah,
all the pushback. But then I think it kind of came around. Hopefully people start realizing that it was a little bit more serious than we thought.
Just a little bit.
Just a little bit,
There's nothing else that we've had to take those type of precautions for. Like
that was my thing to begin with. That's why I was what the beginning was like, wait, shit is closing.
Yeah.
Shit shutting down. Like this is just a fraction different.
Yep. Exactly. It's a little more extreme than what we've ever seen.
Just a little bit. It doesn't matter how much, but it is different. You can't tell me that it wasn't different. You can't be like, well, no, it was different. Otherwise, I don't see why everything would have shut down like this. And to me, I'm glad it did. A lot of people aren't happy about it. I think it would have been worse if we didn't.
Exactly. And what we learned, the cool thing is that, and it's hard to say the cool thing in a year that was so crazy and wild, the celebrity deaths and, we didn't even mention Kobe yet, but like all the stuff that was going on and how wild it was. The cool thing, or at least the benefit, was that we learned how to do things in a different way.
We
You know
did.
what I mean? Like we had to, we didn't have a choice. So my job, which is mainly in person in front of people, I had to start doing this, talking to a camera, training and developing, digitally. I didn't know I had that in my bag. I didn't know I could do that, but
a lot of people did, I'm sure.
I had to figure it out,
had to.
Now I have that as something that I feel confident if I have 25 people in to 100 people, 300 people in a Zoom conference, just as much as I did when I had 300 people in a location, a spot where I was doing a training. So that's kind of the silver lining, right? There's been some things we've learned and figured out about ourselves that I think will permanently change, but it'll be permanently changed for the good.
Yeah, no, I
hope so.
Yeah, no, I feel you on that. Actually, I'm glad you said permanently changed.
Yeah.
Social issues. So when we get into social issues, I permanently changed, and then for anybody that knows me watching this, it's probably like, wait a second. No. You weren't like this anytime. No, I changed, man, full-fledged.
Yeah.
That it changed me. That's damn near part of why I'm doing where I'm at today. Truthfully, it did.
What made you change?
It was, man, you know what? Because obviously we had those deaths. You had the George Floyd, Ahmaud Arbery. We had those deaths. And to me, what made me change, and this is only my circle, just I can only speak for what's around me, just the lack of caring for it. I'm telling you right now, there was maybe 2 people that whole year that ever reached out and was like, how do you feel? And one was a dude I used to work with. I'm gonna give a shout out to Eric Boyer. Eric Boyer. Yeah. It was so random. It was just, how are you doing? I was like, where the hell did this text come from? Yeah. But it was revealing in both ways, right? It was revealing in one area. I was like, damn, these people don't give a shit. But then it was all the people that did care. Like when you saw the protests, obviously you had the one, like you said, the people that just want to get out. But it was, to me, it was different because I never seen everybody come together. Yeah. Like that. Whatever the reason was, I hadn't seen it. But it was, to me, like I said, I just saw a lot of people just not caring. Yeah. Truthfully. Yeah. And maybe that's just me being, maybe naive. Like why would you? I mean, I would. Yeah. I think just knowing how I am, I would care. I would at least reach out. But it was just the lack. I was just like, all this is going on, and there's just we're locked down. I mean, right. What the hell?
It's that expectation that comes with if something terrible happens, we are supposed to appear normal still, right? I can't have an emotional reaction at work because that'll make people uncomfortable. At least, and even if that's not what's spread at your job, that's how you feel. Sure. Right? You personally feel like, dang, I can't come in here talking about these issues. I can't come in here with this, this emotion that I'm feeling, because then folks are going to look at me funny, or it's going to be uncomfortable, or, whatever it might be. I feel similar in that regard, man, to the disregard people had about how awful it actually was. Because I came to work, thankfully, I work in an environment with people who truly do care about me and care about how I feel. Sure. And I had, a few coworkers who had reached out to me. And when I say a few, it's not a whole lot more than what you said, probably 3, 4. It's not like I had a whole team of people, but I had 3 or 4 people who reached out and asked me how I felt, which I was surprised by.
Man, right. He was like,
it was like, oh, you're really interested. You want to know. Okay. But I have also, and we've talked about this before, my passion has always been diversity and inclusion. So I feel like I've been in this fight for over a decade, since my early days of college, trying to get people educated and get people aware of social issues and the disparity between the haves and the have-nots. So I was trying to, I feel like I've been beaten against a wall. So when people started responding to the Ahmaud Arbery's and the George Floyd's and started protesting, I had a mixed feeling of emotions.
Mm-hmm.
I was relieved because people were finally responding, but I was a bit resentful because I thought, dang, that's what it had to take? Somebody getting murdered in the street, you know? And so yeah, you know, I can talk about that all day. It's just one of those things where I had to stop getting frustrated about why people were responding and just being grateful that there was a response at all.
Sure, man, no question. Like I said, you know, part of it, you know, for me was seeing just certain people doing not necessarily the dirty work, but down there on the front lines.
Yeah.
Just not caring about what other people thought about them. Just, hey, this was awful. I don't give two shits what you think about it. Exactly. It was awful, and I'm going to let you know it was awful. Right? No, regardless. You know, I mean, you see all the posts like, well, my family disowned me. But that was, well, that was a risk that they took. That was incredible to see. And, you know, I'm on the opposite end of you. Like I said, where I come from, I didn't really care, not necessarily care. It wasn't on the forefront of where it is now. That's the difference. Like you know, the last 10 years, that's what for me, last 10 years just wasn't, you know, I am who I am. Right. And it was not a big issue until it was an issue.
Yeah.
Exactly. Then I started like, okay, we're going to switch this thing up, and we're not turning back around. Like if cats are like, well, yeah, you were such and such this way, you don't have to worry about that anymore.
Exactly.
This is going, you know, I'm like, my grandma would have beat my ass the way I was acting 2-3 years ago. She won't now. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Like that was, it was incredible to see. It was incredible to see.
It was cool to see how impactful it was for young people. And I say young people, I feel like I'm still relatively young, but like young people, like high school, middle school age people, you know, I knew it was something, you know, and I say it as in all the things that happened last year.
Yeah.
When my son started asking me about stuff, you know, my son is 8, you know, so when he came home and started asking me about, you know, why are people protesting? You know, why are people upset? You know, why are people asking me who my parents are voting for? You know, like, and I'm like, dang, he's in 2nd grade and you getting hit with that, you know, and it made me again pivot and think, God, like I gotta show my son how to navigate this stuff.
Have to,
you know, I gotta show him how to navigate this, because even though I've been in it my whole life, I don't think about the fact that he's going to go through a totally different wave of things than I've ever had to deal with. Being mixed and being in a society that has had to deal with COVID and quarantine and digital learning, you know, he's going to do stuff that I've never had a class online like that. You know, in 2nd grade.
Right. It's like,
you know, I've never had students asking me, you know, how do Black people feel about this when I was in 2nd grade? You know what I mean? Like, wasn't nobody asking me that stuff, you know? So knowing that he's got to now deal with that, and he's going to have to deal with that for the rest of his life.
Navigate it.
Yeah. You got to figure it out. So that's been, you know, that's another huge thing I've had to tell myself, like, look, I'm figuring out how to do this, and I'm trying to teach you how to deal with this at the same time.
Yeah,
and that's a challenge, man.
No question. I tell you, you said one of the biggest things with your son. My 20-year-old that was my eye opener.
Yeah,
she had cut up one time and was tripping. She was like, "Why are we doing such and such?" I was like, "Man, chill out." And all of a sudden, I was like, "Damn, you're right.
Yeah,
you're right. You're right. Yeah. You were tripping." And I don't know if you fully understand why you were tripping, but you opened my eyes to where I get it. I get it, because I was on the other end. I was like, man, you can't act like that. You're not going to act like that. Well, about a week later, I was acting the same way.
Right. Exactly.
But you're right about these kids. I don't think about that much. They got to go through a way different time, you know, with the digital learning. That'll probably be hybrid of some sort.
Yep.
You know, talking about race possibly way earlier than we did.
Yep.
I mean, it's going to be early.
Yeah, early. It's now.
And if it's not your teachers, it's going to be your peers,
your friends.
Your friends will be like, "Oh," and you have to be able to answer.
Exactly. Like, you got to be able to.
If you would have asked me in 2nd grade, such and such. What I'd have been, I don't even see, I'd have been like, I have no idea.
It's challenging, man. And that's the weight sometimes that our kids carry, is that they are asked to represent an entire group of people instead of just themselves. And that's the thing I try to tell Amari, like, daddy's going to tell you something, but this is just daddy's opinion.
Absolutely.
This isn't the opinion of all middle-aged Black men. This is just Chad Edmonds. This is me.
Right.
Outside of that, don't freak out about, trying to carry the weight of your whole race and carry the weight of all the 8-year-old kids. Like you can't do that to yourself. You know what I mean? Like, you're gonna fold under the pressure of feeling like you have to answer for too many people. That's too much. Your opinion is your opinion, and leave it at that. Yeah. And if someone else doesn't agree with that, that's fine. That's their opinion too. Don't get caught up in why they disagree with you.
Right. Just let it be. Let it be. Even just to, I guess, move forward. Where do we go from here? I truthfully feel that talking about it, like doing something like this, even a little round table talking about issues, is the way to go. I don't know if it's really a difference, is yes, you have to have the uncomfortable conversations, but you have to have them with the right people, right? There's going to be people that you are going to spend a lot of time talking about this that aren't really going to care. That's not going anywhere.
Nope.
And you're wasting time. For me, it's like, if I am going to talk to you about it and I see that, I can tell by the attitude and, well, why, or what did he do, or why was he doing this? We're done. We're not going to talk about this. I want to talk about it with people that are going to care. Because then when you do it, then it pollinates to their family. Yeah. Right? It spreads down. It's like, because there are people that really care and really want to change. Those are the people that attention needs to be focused to. Yes. I'm going to talk to you because you're going to spread it to your kids. And then generation after generation, hopefully it continues to spread. Yes. That's the goal. That's the hope. You start now having conversations in between you and a couple friends. And I love that you said the right people, because yes, there are people who this conversation is going to be wasted on, that you can't try to have those conversations with. But when we say the right people, we are also talking about people who don't agree with you too. Absolutely. And those are also question. The right people. No question. Because that's where learning is done. That's where you start to figure stuff out. When you have somebody who's not going to just say yes to everything that you tell them, that to me is where people are not willing to get into the weeds, because they don't want that opposition to what they're saying. They don't want that fight, that debate. It's like, oh, well, you're just ignorant, and I don't feel like talking to you because you're just ignorant. And even though they may be, you might be too. Sure. Right? Oh, no question. You're ignorant to what they're talking about. So if you both have an unwillingness to yield, then you get nowhere. So get people who agree with you, but you get people who disagree with you so that you can make progress. That's the only way you make progress. No question. You have to, and that's where the conversation is going to get real funny, right? Yeah. When you have somebody that's really on the opposite side, but yet still wanting to understand, or not necessarily understand, but hear, right? That's the tricky conversation. That's tough. Those are the ones you want to have. I'm just not a big fan of just spending all this energy, even like on social media. When you get into it with somebody, you're going all day. Because I remember there was a couple of times with you were at it all day. And at the end of that day, it didn't change a thing. Like, it's about recognizing early. It's like, look, okay, I get it. You don't want to hear this, and you never will. Okay, bet. That's your choice. I got to find somebody that does, because this 7 hours I just wasted, that could be 5-10 people that I could be having this conversation with that are going to spread it to 5-10 more families. Yes. That are going to turn into, it's going to grow exponentially. Exactly. That's an absolutely great point that you just made. And I had to learn that the hard way. I remember, I'm telling you, that. Those days you were like, I'm like, damn. And at first I was like, okay, see, get after it. But then I'm like, damn, you doing it again? Man, damn, now every we're doing it again. And then like, damn, it go weeks. But man, I had to get into it with him. Oh, you did? We did that a month ago.
Right.
Still at it?
Exactly. Still trying to convince people who aren't going to be convinced.
They're just not.
Who don't really want to hear what you have to say. And the toughest part for me that I've had to learn is sometimes it's people you love and people you care about.
One's close to you.
The people the closest to you. And that's what burns that fire of, I just want you to be not ignorant. Right. I want you to be educated. I want you to look at this from a different angle, because you're going to realize that what the ground you're standing on is shaky.
Yeah.
And if it isn't someone I care about, that's what I had to learn on social media is I don't have any vested interest in these people. Right. Why am I spending hours talking to a guy? Not only am I never going to meet you, I'm never going to convince you that you need to look at things a different way. So why am I wasting my energy?
Ever. Yeah.
And it's tough because I'm passionate. I'm emotional about this stuff. So, I want to try to teach as many people as I can, but I realize, again, your circle of influence is only this.
It's not much.
That big.
It's not much. So, I'm with you 100%. Your
circle of control is even smaller because the only thing you can control is yourself.
Correct.
So I had to realize that I can only impact my circle of influence. My circle of influence is my family, my friends. And outside of that, hopefully you learn something by watching some of the things I say or do, but I'm not going to spend all day trying to teach.
Man, you can't. And I'm with you. I think the biggest is the people closest to you. You're just like, wow.
Yeah.
And for me, it's like, because I'm just a thinker. I'm thinking way back in the day. Like maybe we were just high school buddies or something. I'm just like, what?
Yeah.
Wait 1 damn minute.
Yeah.
And then I start going all over the place. I'm like, so what do y'all have? What conversation y'all having at night? Like what's going on? Like what were y'all saying back in the day?
Yeah.
You know, and
it makes you start questioning folks that you never would have questioned.
You just never would have questioned, but it makes
colors really
whether it be right or wrong, you just start questioning everything.
Yep.
It was just, I remember you walk outside, you see a hat, you be like, oh man, here we go.
Here we go.
It was just so, it wasn't even, it's not even like that.
No,
but it led to that. You were just judging quick. You were like, oh,
everything.
Here we go.
Everything.
That joint's wild, but
it is, and people were doing it to us too. It's you're doing it to them; they are doing it to you.
It was definitely
here come Brown. Here come Brown.
It was reciprocated. Here he comes. He wasn't like this. I wish I would have talked about this 4 years ago. Here he come now. Don't nobody want to hear him.
Right? Exactly.
Man, exactly.
That's exactly what they were saying.
100%. They were like, wait a second, this is not you. Yeah, well, it is.
Right.
I'm here now. Right. It was, but again, you're absolutely, it was so reciprocated.
Man, I was intentionally quiet on social media, and I started getting messages from people like, wait a minute, you're not quiet about social issues. What's going on with you? And I'm like, I can be quiet. I can just keep stuff to myself. And the people closest to me were like, that's not you. I'm like, it is me. I'm sick of having these goofy conversations that go nowhere.
Spending a lot of energy.
Yeah. So it's being a little bit more targeted in what I do and how you approach it.
Gotta target it.
It'll
make you feel better. It'll make you feel better. It's just, you got to target it.
100%.
Absolutely.
Man. That's where you go from here is having targeted conversations and having more intentional conversations. Correct. Rather than just, attacking people or being ready to fight. Having intentional conversations where your objective is to give your thoughts and feelings and also to hear someone else's thoughts and feelings. And then
you got to be willing to do both.
After that is on you.
Yep. You got to be willing to do both.
Exactly.
You can't just be like, hey, this is what I'm going to say. Or you can't just be like, well, I'm Black. You have to hear what I need to say. Well, that's not going to work.
Right.
You need to be like, okay, well, this is what I have to say. What do you have to say? And you have to listen. There's a lot of give and take. Absolutely. And it's that give and take that makes people uncomfortable. They don't want to do it. They don't want to hear what you have to say. Partly, I don't want to hear what you have to say either, but we got to do it.
Exactly. We got to have the conversation.
Yeah.
And hopefully at the end of it, we're both better for it. That's
absolutely.
That's the goal. You know, hopefully we feel that way when we're done. Like, okay, that conversation was necessary.
Right. Even if you fight and argue, like at the end of the conversation, if you can say, wow,
yep,
that was necessary.
That was necessary.
That's a win.
Yep.
That's a win. Cried, laugh, fight, cuss each other out. But at the end of the day, if you wake up the next day, it was like, man, that was needed.
That was needed.
That's a win.
You got to have that. You got to have that. And that has to be the mentality. And if you sense that that's not the mentality when the conversation starts, then you don't need to continue.
Correct. That's where people get caught up. That's where you get caught up. It's like, well, I sense it's not going anywhere. I'm going to make it go somewhere. Well,
right.
You're not.
You're not.
You're going to spend an hour or two. And at the end, you're going to be really upset.
You're going to be really mad.
Damn, I just wasted all
and they're going to be mad.
They're going to be hot because they don't want to hear it.
They don't want to hear it.
You don't want to hear it.
Yep. You've wasted each other's time.
Yeah, no, absolutely. But let's go ahead and wrap this up, man. That was fun. That was great. I'm glad. I appreciate you coming out here talking about this.
Absolutely.
You know, obviously we've talked about it before, but this was fantastic. I appreciate it.
Yeah,
thanks everybody for watching. Like, subscribe, share it. We out of here.
Sir.